Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
Well, only in 2020 could we live through a pandemic, widespread civil unrest like we haven't seen in half a century, mass unemployment, a frightening economic decline, all amid the most bitter political divide probably since the Civil War, and then see the whole narrative change dramatically with the death of a single Supreme Court justice. Here to analyze how this dramatic turn of events is likely to affect the presidential race is LibertyNation.com's outspoken political columnist Joe Schaeffer. Welcome back, Joe.
Hello, Tim. Good to be here.
Well, always good having you. Do you think the fact that a new justice is likely to be confirmed before the election will have the same impact on voters as if the confirmation was done after the election, in the sense that the new direction of the court will already presumably be assured by the time people vote on November 3rd?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I don't think it matters for the simple reason that the circus is going to be the thing. There's going to be a circus. It's going to be worse than Kavanaugh, probably. Democrats always overreact to the moment. They try to seize the 24-hour news cycle. And I think this is where those past instances really catch up to them. The impeachment hearings, the Russia hoax, the whole laundry list. I think the American people are bracing now for the Democrats howling at the moon. And it's right up Trump's alley in that regard. I think it's the worst thing that could happen to Joe Biden. He's trying to pivot to the center, and here come the Democrats ready to act crazy again when he's trying to be Scranton Joe. It's not going to be good for him. It's the circus that's going to hurt him.
What's with the whole Scranton Joe line of thinking? I mean, the guy only lived there till he was 9 years old, and he's been in Washington ever since, in politics.
I think they're throwing anything at the wall now to see if it'll stick. Because, this guy, and we've both been saying this, 47 years in politics, and you've got nothing to run on of your own. It's, I'm not Donald Trump. That's all you've got for a half century at the table of power. So I think it's an unfocused campaign. They're looking, they know they have to pivot away from that crazy leftist primary. And yet, look what he did the other day. He alienated the Bernie bros. He says, I beat the socialist. He basically did a victory dance this is something that these people are deeply wounded about. They want to hold their nose and vote for the guy, and he's taunting them. You don't have this part of the Democratic Party locked up. You really can't afford to do this. But I just think they're shooting aimlessly at the void now. They don't know how to frame this guy, because I think there is no safe framing for Joe Biden.
Well, that's certainly some excellent perspective. Do you think the future of the Supreme Court essentially replaced COVID in the minds of voters as a primary issue, which would, of course, be a serious problem for Biden? Or is the pandemic still likely to be a top issue?
I really think that's largely a Democratic talking point. They want the COVID thing to be a decision maker, and I really don't think it is. You almost see a partisan split, whereas people who love the lockdowns and the mask and all that tend to believe in big government, trust the experts, and people who are prone to like Donald Trump don't trust authority. They're against this big government. So I think there's already camps here, and there's not this mass of undecided voters who are saying, gee, I really don't like how Trump has handled this pandemic. It's something that Democrats are trying to hold on to because, again, got nothing for Joe Biden. There's no reason for them to be optimistic about this guy. And I don't think COVID-19 is this winning issue for Biden like they apparently think it is.
Well, he's still winning in the polls, albeit less than a month ago. I mean, isn't that a reason to make him optimistic?
Yeah, I don't believe in the polls. And I think we learned in 2016 just how important these polls are. And I know you can't dismiss them all in a wholesale, but you need to look at what kind of person votes for Donald Trump and what kind of person. I mean, Joe Biden is the establishment. He's not just a Democrat. He represents a swamp uniparty way of government that ran roughshod over this country from 1918 to 2016. That's the COVID, the type of people who are prone to believe that big government is the answer and let's trust the experts. The type of people who really want systemic change in this country and are not leftist. I don't see how the coronavirus is going to turn them against Donald Trump. I really don't see it.
So the loss of the pandemic as any kind of issue for Biden, or likely loss. You can never predict anything in 2020, but that's going to hurt him, no question. But on the other hand, the court battle will also mute discussions beneficial to Trump about Biden and his son's dealings with Ukraine and China, which the Senate's been investigating, and the whole Russia collusion hoax, and the many far-left positions that Biden was forced to embrace during the Democratic primary. So who does the change of topic benefit and hurt the most?
I don't think it helps Trump as much as maybe some people think it does. They say the Republican Party is uniting around him. He's had strong Republican grassroots support all along, with 90% of Republicans in the grassroots have always backed him. So what Mitt Romney is on board, that doesn't change the election in any way. I think it hurts Joe Biden so much more for what I talked about earlier. This guy wants to go to the center. He can't win being the leftist progressive Trojan horse, as the Trump campaign has that was such a good move painting him as that way. So he has to pivot away from that. And like I said, here comes the circus. Here comes the Democrats doing everything that they don't understand how much it turns off the mainstream regular Americans out there. They're going to do it on national TV. They're going to be hysterical. They're going to be over emotional. And I think it hurts Joe Biden because he does not want to be associated with this. And look at what he's been doing. He has really not been bringing up the Supreme Court thing at all. He's almost trying to avoid the issue. I think he knows, like, hey, this is going to get crazy, and I don't want to be part of the craziness.
Well, he's wise not to bring up his elections because that would only hurt him almost certainly politically, because they'd all be leftist progressives to satisfy his, the rising political base in the Democratic Party. But, Joe, let's turn our attention to Kamala Harris. What about her? Since most people believe she will eventually be the president if Biden wins, how much will and how much should the Trump campaign focus on her?
Well, theoretically, this is her big chance, her big shot at the brass ring. We saw her have this. She's going to be on the Senate Judiciary Committee for these hearings. Well, we saw her do that with Brett Kavanaugh, and she failed spectacularly. It is so important for her to perform. And if I'm a Democrat looking at the way she butchered it, and I think she butchered it with Kavanaugh, I don't see any reason to be optimistic, to tell you the truth.
Okay, so finally, Joe, everybody does seem to think that this debate coming up on Tuesday night, the first of what's supposed to be 3, plus a vice presidential debate, will be absolutely pivotal. Do you agree?
Potentially. It all depends if Biden has that disastrous moment. And Trump is going in there confident. They say he's not even practicing. He's going to go in there and just feel loose and do what he does. And I think what's going to happen, I think people are expecting the big Joe Biden blow up, the huge gaffe that's going to just ruin him. And I don't see him going out that way. I see him just slowly petering out. I see people watching him, and they're going to see a tired, just no enthusiasm, low energy guy, almost what Trump painted Jeb Bush as, except for, with a much older, more feeble man. So I think he's going to just fade away and fizzle, and there's not going to be this spectacular burnout. But 3 debates, it's such a tall order for him. I think the first one won't be the killer. I want to see him do all 3. I don't think he can pull it off, but I don't think there's going to be that one car crash moment. I think it's going to be more of a fadeaway.
All right, Joe. On that note, thanks for joining us. We'll have you back frequently between now and November 3rd and after as well, if the election isn't decided for days or weeks or months after November 3rd. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.